Hey, what's good, everybody? It's Matt Davey, and I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about focusing and paying attention even when you're not necessarily interested in what the topic is. Now, this is really for my youngsters who's in the public school system and, struggling to find themselves motivated to stay engaged in class activities and or coursework. This conversation started with a conversation I had with my son a few weeks back, who was continually telling me he was just not really, he was bored, basically, is what he was saying. He was bored in class. And, I got to thinking, like, what I'm imagining what that must feel like to be disengaged on a level of excitement with your coursework for the entire day or for a large portion of your day and then for extended periods of time. Mind you, it's the end of the school year, so there's probably a little bit of just being over it, right? But I think this is an important topic, and I think especially for the youngsters who's got a lot more time left to go in their public education career, it'll be very helpful. So listen closely. I'm just going to give you a few tips to help you engage. I'll start by talking about my first time in the field of construction. When I was in this first job, I got asked to do a retaining wall for a guy in a backyard project. Me and three of my buddies, he just found us at the grocery store or something, and we came through. And I remember how hot it was. I remember the sun beating down and us just sweating profusely. And, you know, I'm not even gonna lie to you. The three of us, we could not hack it. We just could not hack it. We muscled and got through to a certain extent. We helped them get the preparation and lay the foundation for this retaining wall. It was a bigger block retaining wall in this backyard, but it was my first real construction project, and obviously these guys as well. And we was carrying all sorts of things, and it really was unfavorable. But I remember that there was a key point in the project when I figured that I had to focus on one thing or another to get through. How was I going to pull myself through this project? Because I was really getting disengaged to the point where I'm like, and not only disengaged, but then your body starts to wear down. And that's when something clicked for me about construction. I realized that as you work on construction projects, as you go little by little, and you see the progress, it's quite satisfying to see how far you've come along in the project. Even if the project's not complete, to be able to look at something that wasn't there before and then see the progress in real time as you're building it, I found that to be very gratifying and very satisfying. And so, for the remainder of the time we worked on that project, I continued to make milestone checkpoints in my head and look and see the progress. Mind you, this is stuff I haven't done before. So, as I was going through, it was really cool, really, really cool, and it really unlocked some new things for me in my mind. Up until this point prior, all of my jobs were customer service, retail, sales, even office and clerical. This was my first time working with my hands in the field of construction, getting down and dirty in the hot heat, exposed to the elements. This was my first experience, but there were many more to follow. And I can remember, seeing my progress as I think back and, learning how to dig deep and work hard on projects, learning how not to give up, learning how to manage the different elements, extreme heat, extreme cold, learning how to tune that stuff out and stay focused on the task at hand to be able to see the end goal, which is the complete and finished project, oftentimes for our customer. And so not only is the customer service component still alive, but you're you're working with the customer in mind, right? And these were the things I had to remind myself. I'm working with the customer in mind. I want to please the customer who's ultimately, paying us, right? And so as I progressed and my discipline grew and things got more and more components, more and more elements, more and more applications, more and more strategies, more and more techniques, more and more methods of doing the job of construction, begin to make me a more well-rounded worker. And so when I started to reach this point, then I went into the next phase of looking at my jobs as training for my business. Somewhere along the way, I heard it said, your job is, I think it was Dr. Miles Monroe. He said, your job is training for your company, for your business that you will begin one of these days. And so that is another thing that helped me stay rooted and grounded and continue to push through in areas where I didn't always feel fulfilled. I didn't always like having a boss or working for somebody. My bosses weren't always nice people per se. They didn't always have the most personable traits and didn't always treat us like that, like we should be treated. And so when you're in these conditions, or when you're otherwise disinterested, like my son was telling me he was in class, you have to find ways to dig deep and stay engaged. We can't just, in life, we can't just engage in the things that do pique our interest and do bring us much joy and excitement. We have to also be able to have a tougher skin and a more of a focus to dig deep and get through some harder things to do, get through some things that we don't enjoy so much, or get through some things that make us want to fall asleep, to be honest. And so whether that's, focusing on something that you do enjoy about what the teacher's saying, whether it's observing how the teacher is speaking and delivering the lesson for the day, whether it's, focusing on, finding an area and challenging yourself to become interested in it, right? These are all little things that you can do to stay engaged in class and make sure you get the most out of it. And also think forward in your life. School, is just a period of life. There's going to come a time where it's time to go out into the real world. And so you want to go into the real world equipped with as much knowledge and as much applicable knowledge that you can use in the real world to make a living, to go further, to live and fulfill your purpose in this world. And so you have to have an eye and a mind to look forward and see where can this information possibly apply. And now you might not have a clue. If you don't have a clue, I would encourage you to challenge yourself to look into things and see how some of the classes, some of the readings, some of the lessons that you're experiencing right now can apply to your future. A lot of people say that, school and classes are useless. I say, or a lot of the information that they give us in school and classes are useless. What I say to that is challenge your mind to find an application for it. So when it gets time for you to strike out on your own in the real world, guess what? You're already ahead of the game because you've solidified the process of extracting useful information even out of situations that seem otherwise useless. And so this is a skill set that will take you a lot further in life, a lot quicker. And had I known this when I was coming up as a young kid, I might have stayed in school. I might have engaged in school, and I might have taken it a lot more serious. I was always an intelligent, young man, always very apt and able to learn, but often focused on different things such as being the class clown and socializing versus, paying attention and getting the information that I needed. And so I'm telling you this now as a feather in your cap, and in hopes that it'll give you a leg ahead in your academic career. And as you strike out into the world to go ahead and pursue whatever ventures that God has on your heart to get into and what your purpose is for this life. So I really hope that helps. I hope you got something from this. I want to start posting more and more videos like this on this page, and turn this into a more of an educational page here. I do keep the youth in mind, but if you're a grown adult watching, hopefully you got something from it too. All right, y'all, it's your main man, Matt David. Peace and love. We'll catch y'all on the next one.